everyone. Thank you so much for joining again. Today we talk about interest rate parity, IRP, covered and uncovered. So here what we try to calculate or to understand or approximate is what should the forward rate of a forward instrument be between two countries / two currencies. Also, what should the expected future exchange rate be? F is the forward rate, ET is the expected future spot rate. Under UFR, unbiased forward rate, we can approximate one with the other. I will just explain this in another video. If we use our formula again, then we can see that our current exchange rate, E0 between two countries, is affected by R is the interest rate, the nominal interest rate in those countries. So if one country has a higher interest rate than the other country, then money would flow to this country because people would invest to get a higher return. We use this formula basically to get an understanding based on the current spot rate what the future forward rate or the expected future spot rate should be. Covered interest rate parity assumes arbitrage, eliminates interest rate differentials via forward contracts, very important, ensuring the forward rate is equilibrium. There's no arbitrage opportunity. You can't do any transactions to make a riskless profit. If we use uncovered interest rate parity, this assumes investors do not hedge, and instead the expected future spot rate adjusts based on interest rate differentials. Yeah, again, forward rate, expected future spot rate. Very important, DF, again, domestic and foreign. It doesn't really matter if you talk about two countries that you are not part of, what is domestic, what is foreign. It doesn't really matter. But it is important that you use it consistently. So whatever currency you use for D, you need to use your spot rate accordingly, and your interest rate for D needs to be here, and for the other country needs to be in the denominator. Yeah, just to ensure you are consistent. If we use an example, let's assume 1 year interest rate in the UK is 12%. And 1 year interest rate in the US is 9%, and the current exchange rate is 1.5 US dollar per 1 pound. What is the expected exchange rate? We use the formula. 1.5 goes in here. 1 plus 9, you can see US dollar here is in the numerator. That's why we put 9% here. 12% goes here, and then we adjust, and then our new result is 1.46. So our GBP, our pound, should depreciate against the dollar. And the reason here why should it depreciate means GBP loses value. I can't see that, because why should the GBP lose value against the US dollar? Because here it looks like the interest rate is way higher in the UK. So it sounds positive. Why does the GBP depreciate? The reason is, and I explained this in another video, if you look at Fisher effect, it basically means that because of higher interest rate and the expected return that investors are seeking, it would adjust your inflation, which means higher interest rate here reflect or correspond to higher inflation rates. They will basically adjust accordingly. If in the UK you have a higher inflation rates, products, goods and services are more expensive, the value of the currency decreases depreciates. So here, second order effect, you can't see it right away, but if we look at Fisher effect, then you can see the difference or the connection between interest rate and inflation, and they go together hand in hand, which means higher interest rate here equals higher inflation in the UK, which would mean price levels increase, which would lead to your GBP to depreciate against the dollar. Yeah? Hard to see here with this formula. I explain it in the parity condition Fisher effect, where you see the impact. Very important, we have two formulas that look quite similar. Here we are talking about uncovered interest rate parity, which we have used. We have used this formula here. The IFE International Fisher effect formula actually looks identical. It is just how you interpret International Fisher effect and uncovered interest rate parity. It's both based on interest rate differentials in different countries. International Fisher effect states that exchange rates adjust based on inflation expectations. So actually we have used the International Fisher effect formula here, but again, it's the same formula, which are embedded in interest rate. That's what I said. If interest rate change, it already assumes a change in inflation, which then lead to the pound to depreciate in our scenario. Uncovered interest rate parity, same formula, states that exchange rates adjust based on interest rate differentials, no hedging. If you look at uncovered. If you look at covered, then hedging. So you can see the wording is a bit different, whether you look at inflation rates and then look at exchange rate, or whether you look at exchange rate and look at inflation. So it's inflation rate, it's similar, but just to not confuse you, there are different concepts. The underlying formula is connection between future expected exchange rate, spot rate, and interest rates that we can see under IFE and uncovered interest rate parity. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this useful and not too confusing. I will show you a few other videos on the other parity conditions, and I look forward to see you later. Bye-bye.